Hi everybody, Lockmullins here, and today I would like to talk to you about the elements. I work spiritually. I work very elementary. Elementary? Wow, that sounds weird, huh? I work much with the elements. I'm sorry. This is my second video of the day, and it is still St. Patrick's Day. And I've been making merry throughout the day, but I'm afraid if I don't get this done today, I won't. So it's going to be a huge ramble, and what I ask of you guys is to have it not make too much sense. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. Everything I'm going to say is going to make sense to me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to convey it well. So please ask questions if you have questions. And other than that, try very hard to listen to what I mean instead of actually what I'm saying and what comes out of my mouth. So having said that, I'm going to grab a quick drink. Okay. Some people, that's where those glasses are. They're on top of my head. There are two different ways that people basically see the swords and the wands. If you work with elements when you do tarot, a lot of people don't work with elements at all, and that is fine. A lot of people, and over the years I've heard that, the swords are fire, and that's just it. The swords are fire, and what happened was when they made tarot cards, they put in a blind so that you had to be, in order to get all this esoteric knowledge, you really had to be in the know with all the tarot people, and with all the spiritual people in Golden Dawn. And some people say it goes back before that, and there are just so many arguments. But I've heard over and over and over again through the years that swords are fire and wands are air. And then you also hear the opposite from whatever I just said. A lot of people will tell you, well, wands are fire and swords are air, and really that was the blind. And some people will say, well, it was a double blind, and really it's the other way around. And I'm not here to debate any of that. Whatever you've heard, and for any of those of you who think like the real source of this argument, and you want to talk to me about it, that's fine, because I would love to know. I just know I've heard it both ways over the years. I've heard it both ways from people that I like to listen to. I work with the elements, and if you're Wiccan, if you're a lot of pagans work this way, and like I said, I'm toasted, so I hope this is even in the what it's supposed to be. This is my circle. Okay, I work air, fire, that makes this water, and earth. And for those of you who work directionally, east, south, west, north. Air is because where dawn is, it's where the sun comes up. Fire is in the heat of the day when it gets hot. Water is in the evening, at sunset, dusk. That's what I was trying to think of. When things start to cool down. And earth is the night. Two ends there. How about that? Okay, so that makes air because, earth, when you think of the sun coming up, the sun comes up in the east. It is also the springtime, because spring is the dawn of the year. It's like when everything is new. Summer is when it gets nice and hot out. and that's when our fire of the year is. In the autumn, things start cooling down again. And this is, you know, in winter is when it gets cold and everything dies out. Also, you can look at the moon the same way. This is your this is the waxing moon as it grows larger, just like the seasons grow larger, the days grow longer. So this would be like the full moon. This is your waning moon. And this is your new moon or even your dark moon. Okay, most of you probably already know that, but it bears going over so that what I'm going to say to you next makes sense to me. If this doesn't make sense to you, I am not trying to sway anybody. It's just I hear the arguments all the time, and I just want to explain to people how I see it, because all of this stuff has to make sense to me. That's what witchery is to me. It makes sense. If it didn't make sense, oh, you know, I've got a big rant about this, because I've seen online and especially on Tumblr, a lot of people saying, oh, well, witchcraft can be anything you want it to be. It can be anything you want it to be. And maybe it can. But if you work, let's say you work really, really well with, let's say you work really, really well with herbs, and you take, okay, mugwort. Let's say you take mugwort, and you're like, oh, you know what? I really like mugwort, so I'm going to use mugwort to help calm me down. You know, you put that energy into the mugwort, and sure, maybe it's going to help calm you down because that's how you're working with it. But if you take the essence of that mugwort and see what it means, to me, I cleanse really well with mugwort, and I make tarot tea with mugwort, and I use it for psychic abilities, and that's what it does for me. So, you know, if you want to take chamomile and just say, oh, I think chamomile is spiritual, I'm going to use that for psychic abilities, you know, I just don't think that will work without the discovery and without thinking about where it goes. I just don't think that sort of thing is going to work very well. So yes, maybe witchcraft can be anything you want it to be, but to me, it has to make sense. It has to flow together. It has to work. Okay. Having said that, there's some things that honestly do work different ways, but that's a thing for another time. Look at my bad writing. Okay, another drink, and now we're going to get down to some business here. I see, and you know, this is an argument that everybody has, and if you see it differently, go with it. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just trying to explain to some people why I look at it the way I do. To me, swords are air, wands are fire. When I first started learning tarot, I actually learned the opposite way. And the tradition that sings most to my heart sees it the other way around. So this has been years of looking into things and struggling and wondering, and not really a lot of flip-flopping, but different thoughts here and there. And finally, just for the just to be able to have it make sense to me and to be able to work with things, I just settled on swords being air. First of all, let's have a small look at some of the cards. And I pulled out the court cards because it's just so easy to see in the court cards. And I'm also going to talk about Lisa Hunt, because there are some decks that definitely swords are air, but there are some decks where really swords are fire. And I've quit using most of these decks over the year. I have, I think, 4 Lisa Hunt decks, and I don't even remember the last time I used one. It's been so long ago, which is sad, and I'll get to that in a little bit. First of all, because the work is beautiful, and her thought process, there's a lot of really cool things. So if you like to see swords as air, please do it that way. But and when I lay out my altar too, my thigh goes with the air, my wand goes with the fire. So I don't know if, like, if you read cards differently, you know, do you set up an altar that way too? I don't know. Let me know. Or do you put your wand over here in the east? Okay. Anyway, just to look at Rider-Waite-Smith. Everybody knows I'm a Rider-Waite-Smith girl, Rider-Waite-Smith, and this may have a big part of why I see it the way I do. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like gravelly today. Look at, when you look at the pages, and I could go through tons of the cards, but we're just going to look at the court cards for this right now. Look at, there's birds in the air. Look at how the wind is emphasized by the hair flying. Look at the clouds in the sky. The air is emphasized. Look at the page. The ground, look at, that's emphasized. Look how flat and barely colored. And this is the universal weight deck that has been recolored by, I'll think of her name in a minute. I'm sorry. But anyway, she, and I believe they're Prismacolors. They look like Prismacolors to me, but she's recolored the deck. It was one of the first recolorings that kind of really broke away from those flat colors in the deck. But aside from all that, look at, even in the trees in the background, look at, you can see it looks like they've been windblown. They're blowing out over. So very, very much. And look at the fire colors here. Look at the salamanders. Salamander is it's a fire animal. Okay, we're going to have the same thing in the knights. You've got the salamanders here, and look at their little ornaments or whatever on their helmets. These look like wings, and they also look more like they're flying, where this, you know, that's not wind. Look at how fiery that looks. The salamanders, and he's got birds here. These look like birds, butterflies, birds. And again, the trees, look, they're leaning like they've been windblown. Look at which one looks more like a desert. Desert is definitely fire. Same thing in the queens. Oh, look at the kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if you guys can see these. I hope I've been holding them up at an angle, okay? I'll take a look at this and maybe I'll redo it. I don't know. The bird, the clouds. Look at the clouds' inner cape. The butterflies here. Look at the wings where, you know, you've got the lions here. You've got sunflowers. Look at all the fire, fire, fire here. And again, the air is emphasized. Not so much there. It's not really air emphasized there, but. And the kings. Look at the kings. He's got actually a live salamander. Salamander's there. The lion, who is, you know, fire, passionate. That's wands to me. And here, the swords, same thing. So we're going to take a real quick look at Lisa Hunt. This is her dragon deck, and this is why it makes me sad not to work with Lisa Hunt stuff, because I've been looking for a dragon deck forever. And I honestly think this is one of the best, except, and I've tried to pick this up and look at it over the years, and I just cannot read with it. And the whole reason I can't read with it is because these swords are fire. And I had a friend who like just really didn't get it. And she's like, why don't you just read with it anyway? And I've tried. But to me, it's all circular. It all has to make sense for me to like really feel that all the way through. And to me, it's just not. So anyway, fire and the swords. Look at the dragon here. Goes up into the air. Same thing. Look at, there's air. Look at this dragon's tail actually even kind of just fades out into the sky, into the air. And look at that sun. Fire, fire, fire. This one, look at that. Fire, 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 fire. And the same thing. Fire, 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 fire. Look at the birds in the cloak. Look at the dragons in the cloak. Just, they use wands as air. So I'm not able to use this deck. I want to reel very quickly, just because air is morning. So to me, air's your thought processes. The East, it is all about your thought process. To me, these swords are all about thinking. And I've had people argue with me. Look at this. Is this, okay, wands, all about action. Wands are fire. That's action. That's gut instincts. I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of wax from where I was doing some stuff the other day. So, action, thought. Let's just keep it simple for a minute. This one here, like, look at that. It's justice. It's weighing things out. It's thinking. That's very thinking. Same can be said for this. Like, I often read this. It's a fight between your heart and your head. Some people see this as sorrow, but then some people over here, it's like, oh, well, this one's sorrow. So I kind of stay away a little bit from sorrow for both. It depends on all the cards around it, how I read these cards. But you know, I'm not saying it's not a fight, but it's an intellectual fight. It's between, mostly I see this as between your heart and your head. Maybe I see that because I see swords as your head, your fire, you know. So look at in these cards, you've got people lying to you. There's deceit. There's getting away with something. There's there's winners and losers, and that's all, you know. Something went on here, something went on here, but the action is over. This is all about who's won, who's lost, who has lied. The action is over. This is all about the thinking. Same thing, this person here, they're tied up, and I've had people argue, but that takes action to get out of there. It takes action to get out of there. But before that happens, there has to be the realization that she stuck herself. There has to be the realization that she can get herself out. Actually, fairly easily, she can get herself out of this. She just needs to do it. The thought has to come first. Same with this, you know. You wake up from a nightmare, and it's not an action. It's a realization that that wasn't true, that things are going to be okay, or the realization that you've thought of something that sleep helped you with. Or, you know, if you have to go for the whole sorrow thing, also to me, that's all about realizations. This one too, this is kind of like the little mini death card, like you have to let go of things, you have to start over, and things have to be let go of. When I see this in a reading, and tell me if I'm wrong, do you guys normally read that too? Usually when you have to let something go, when this card pops up, as I read it almost always, I'm not saying every time, almost always, there's a thought process you have to let go of. There's something you've been thinking that you have to let go of. Not something you've been wanting really bad, but something you've been thinking. It's like a way that you've been thinking. Okay, really quick, why I see the wands is action. There are, okay, you know, I don't want to talk about all of them. I'm just going to go for the easy ones. Oh, look at that. Look at all that action. Action, action, action. You're not getting anywhere with it, but that's action. This is coming home in triumph. You know, action. Having to stand up for something, action. Okay, this one's more about time, but still, lots of times this means, you know, I call this the flight of the wands. I think a lot of people call it the flight of the wands. But it's all about what can you get done before that time's up, or what, you know, do you have left to do? And some people can say, I can see how some people think that that maybe is a thought process. But still, when you put it up next to this one, and this one, the defense, the hard work, these are action cards. These are south cards. Okay, so the one thing, okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk just a little bit more, but everybody knows what the Rider-Waite deck looks like, so we're going to just look at some cards from this dragon deck since I don't get to look at it very much anymore. This deck is a beautiful deck, and the reason that it makes me really sad, not only just because it's beautiful, but I've been looking forever for a really, really good dragon deck, and I think this is the best dragon deck other than the Switch that I just can't get over. If anybody knows of a really super good dragon deck, let me know. I've got a few others, but this one, if they were switched around, would be much easier for me to read. Okay, so we're just going to flip through and look at some of these while I talk about something else. Because when people understand trying to work with the elements, and they work with the elements the same way I do, the first thing that they will tell you, if they see swords as fire, the first thing that they tell you is, well, swords are made in the fire. And what I have to say that is, are they? Are they really? Are swords made in the fire, or are swords made weak in the fire? You know, all that hammering when they come out of the fire is what gives them strength. They get soft in the fire. They're ineffective in the fire. And, you know, there's that whole, to me, just the picture of swinging a sword through the air, that's double-edged. You know, to me, that just screams thinking. You know, lots of times people think in that whole double-edged thing. Should I do this or shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? And wands, on the other hand, the first thing people tell me is, well, yes, but wands are destroyed in the fire. And again, I say, are they? Are they really? Wands aren't destroyed in the fire. Wands give birth to the fire. Wands are transformed in the fire. Wands, you know, if you're going to talk about transformation of energy, isn't that a beautiful moon card? What better way is there to show that than a wand? A wand just gives birth. You talk about, you know, you manifest magic. You manifest. And to me, wands are all about manifestation. So, I probably said this at the beginning. This is still St. Paddy's Day, and David's my Irish guy, and so we do a lot of celebrating, and so I'm really tired from celebrating today, and I'm still have a little bit of my drink to go, because tomorrow I'm going to get up and fill myself full of liquids and water, and I'm going to behave for a while. I don't drink very often. And we had fun today. But then I realized I'm going to go see my mom tomorrow, and I really don't know when I'll be able to get back to the camera and get some stuff done. And it's not even so much the camera as what it is taking time to do the editing and get stuff out. But I wanted to get these done. Hopefully I'll get at least my nerdy one out. This one can wait. This is one I've had in the back of my mind to do for a while. And I'm not really sure when I go to edit it tomorrow how much sense it's going to make, so I may ditch this whole thing. And please, like I said at the beginning, if stuff didn't make sense, I'm sorry. If I contradicted myself, which I may have, please take a look and see if it was a slip of my brain not working right, or if it was just something that makes sense if you think about it, or if I finished my sentences instead of going off in another direction, if it would make sense that way. So anyway, Lisa Hunt, Makes Me Sad. Beautiful decks. I've got 4. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Anyway, thank you for listening. If you see your elements different, or if you don't work with the elements, that little circle thing I drew, I could go on and on forever about that, you know. I didn't even talk about the colors. I didn't talk about the emotions. They're just, you can take all these different things and they all make sense, you know, as they go around there, you know. Even when we're doing tarot, we talk about, where's my, you know, everybody pretty much agrees that the pentacles are all about the physical things. They're all about, you know, work, home, material. That's what your pentacles are all about. Money. And everybody agrees water pretty much, you know, that's all about your emotions. That's all about the flow of things. That's all about things, you know, the only word I can think of is flow, but, you know, like moldable. Like, you know, if you have like this fancy vase and you pour water into it, that water just goes into that shape because it's the easiest thing. You know, it's like a you know, things that, I don't know. You get what I mean, right? But anyway, that's how emotions go. Emotions flow. They go. Even, you know, when you get mad, angry, suddenly, you know, certainly that's fire coming in, but still it's that water flowing to fit where you were calm into that other place, you know. So fire is all about action. Fire's all about the warmth and I'm losing my train of thought, so I'm going to stop again. I just talked forever about air and fire. Hopefully it all made sense, but I cannot say enough about this, that all of this stuff, it has to make sense. If it does not make sense to me, it doesn't work. And I lose magical power. I lose thought process power. You know, if I'm putting up an altar and I don't follow these things, it just doesn't work for me. So if you work differently, you know, feel free to explain why. And, you know, no judgment here. I get not everybody sees it the way I do. It's like I said, the closest thing I come to a spiritual, strict path from somewhere else, they're just like, they don't even want to discuss it. It's like, no. They don't even want to tell you why. It's like, your swords are fire and that's it. That's how you see it. That's how you read it. It's like, maybe it's because I'm a Rider-Waite-Smith girl that I just can't do it. I cannot do it. This makes sense to me. It flows to me. This is where my power is. I get more power. I've worked both ways. I started working the other way, and over the years, this is the way my power lies. This is the way I need to see it so that it makes sense for me. So when I put up an altar, my Athame goes here, my wand goes here, my chalice, you know, and the pentacle. You guys all know that stuff. I have really bad writing when I've been drinking. So that really is it for now, because I'll just start the ramble, and I probably have said the same thing like 15,000 times, and I'm sorry if I have, but thank you guys for listening. And I want to start doing some tarot tags. I haven't done a tarot tag for a long time, and I apologize to my last video if you didn't see it. I've been down with the fibro for a while, so, and that is something that it's the nature of the beast. It's going to happen once in a while, so, but I hope I'm back. I'm crawling myself back out. I'm here. I'm happy. I've been trying to catch up on your guys' videos, and I've missed them, and I love you guys. I'm trying to catch up, and now I'm saying the same thing all over again. So, sorry people. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you tune in to the next one, and lots of love to you all.